I want to remind America of a recent tragedy, a double murder that made headlines around the world. The most shocking fact in this case, an 8-year-old boy, 8 years old, had a loaded gun. In fact, he had been trained to use it by his father. Now, that father is dead. On November 5th, 2008, police were called to a home in St. John's, Arizona. What they found were the bodies of 2 men. They made only one arrest. The 8-year-old boy. The victims were the boy's father and the dad's friend. The charge, premeditated murder of both men. Police say the boy, yes, the boy, shot them with a .22 caliber rifle. Authorities say they are dismissing the charge that the boy killed his father in the interest of justice. But the murder count in the shooting death of the second man remains. Here to analyze this truly horrific situation, Wendy Murphy, a former prosecutor, author of And Justice for Some, and a law professor at New England Law, and Larry Pratt, executive director of Gun Owners of America, and Daniel Weiss, senior attorney at the Brady Center to prevent gun violence. First, I want to play you a piece of the shocking police interrogation of this child. Again, he's a child. Some legal experts are saying it's totally inadmissible because there was no lawyer present and no family member present. But as you listen, remember, this is the voice of a child.
I think I shot my dad because he was suffering, I think. I thought he was suffering. Okay. So I might have shot him. Didn't want him to suffer. I went outside and then I saw, at first when I ran in, I saw and because he was shaking, and I think that time went off. And then I went upstairs and I saw my dad. And I think that I shot him because he was suffering.
I shot him because he was suffering. Astounding stuff. The boy changed his story repeatedly, but the bottom line is that this 8-year-old boy had a gun, and he allegedly used it to shoot 2 people. Daniel, let's start with you. Why is an 8-year-old boy allowed to handle a loaded weapon? Apparently, there are no laws against this, at least not in Arizona, and why not?
Amazingly, under federal law, there are no age limits for children to possess rifles and shotguns. It's far too easy in this country for children and dangerous people to get their hands on dangerous weapons. But we have hope now because Americans have demanded change. After 8 years of supporting NRA policies, of allowing assault rifles on our streets, of allowing gun sales without even a background check, we saw a dramatic change in the elections where the NRA lost big. Pro-gun control candidates were elected. So we're very hopeful that finally we can put an end to the carnage where 8 children and teens are shot and killed every day in this country, where 80 Americans are killed by gunfire every day in this country.
Well, Larry Pratt, we want this to be an open and fair debate. That's why you are here to talk about gun ownership. Arizona's gun laws do not require adults to keep their guns locked away from kids. They don't even require people to install trigger locks. When you see a case of an 8-year-old boy accused of killing 2 grown men, does it make you doubt your position even slightly?
Well, it makes me doubt the coverage that the media gives to situations like this when not long ago, a few years ago, in Indiana, an 11-year-old youngster, seeing his mother being threatened and physically mistreated and about to be killed by an invader in their house, ran upstairs, got a .45 caliber pistol, came downstairs and shot the man who was actually standing behind the mother, holding her as a shield, killed the guy with 1 shot. Now, seems to me we could spend a little time studying how that kid was able to shoot so well under so much stress. I think that's the kind of model we ought to be looking at, rather than saying what went wrong.
I hear what you're saying. I do hear what you're saying. But Wendy Murphy, it's always that anecdote that comes up every time we talk about gun control. Well, remember that one time that boy protected his mom? But here are the stats. Wait a second. The risk of murder in the home is 3 times greater in households with guns. Wendy, weigh in on this.
Yeah, I mean, look, the problem is with guns, you can make a very rash decision to kill, and you can't take it back. Unlike if there were no guns in the home and you were angry and you went to look for a bat, there's so much more danger when there's a gun around. The problem is this. Even if we make all guns illegal, or, make mandatory lock laws everywhere, it's virtually impossible to police, and there'll just be an underground market for
well,
the
that's
same...
no argument. Let's throw out all the laws because, oh, gee, nobody can tell whether I'm breaking a law inside my home, so let's just throw out the laws.
No, but that's not my point. What I'm saying is there are good reasons and good people can be responsible gun owners. But we don't need things like assault weapons, and we certainly don't need 8-year-olds as a matter of law to have permission to use guns. That's silliness.
Well,
but I don't know that that would necessarily have protected this child from doing something terrible, because we don't know the full story.
Oh, please. You think an 8-year-old is going to be able to kill 2 adults really
No,
any other way other than
Jane,
having a gun and blowing them away? You think he's going to come at him with his, Guitar Hero and him over the head? No, I don't think so.
No, but look it. If there was something awful going on with that child, and look, the lack of affect in his confession sounds like he is terribly traumatized from something horrible. But, kids burn houses down. When kids are being abused, they do terrible things, whether it's with a gun or they burn houses. Well, they get their protection from wherever they can get it. They're desperate. They're defenseless. So I don't know that getting rid of all guns would have saved anybody in some of these examples.
Let's talk about this boy's mentality, because the boy's mom was interviewed on Good Morning America, and she paints a picture of a happy, normal kid. Listen to this.
He's my son. He's a very good little boy, and what I think is what happened to being innocent until proven guilty.
Ever been in trouble at school? Ever been in trouble?
No, not at all. I mean, acting out as far as, not raising your hand when he needs to speak, or, just normal stuff like that.
Daniel Weiss, you just heard the mom talking. How does a child like that allegedly kill 2 men? Is it simply a case that this child was trained to kill by his father because his father trained him to kill prairie dogs, so he knew how to fire, and he doesn't understand the consequences of pulling the trigger?
The sad reality in all of these tragedies, day after day, is guns. Easy access to guns, lethal weapons that make it easy for even children to kill. And the reality in America is we want a middle ground. We want common sense solutions that will protect our communities. We've seen that states that pass tough gun laws have lower gun death rates. Massachusetts, for example, some of the strongest gun laws in the country, lowest gun death rate in the continental U.S. New York City, new data just shows New York City is safest, second only to Honolulu, as the safest city in America with lowest gun.
Let me jump in here very quickly, because I want to get to this. We have some video here of kids shooting recreationally, and we're not talking about that. This is just video of kids shooting recreationally, but there was a recent tragedy, not involving this video, but there you see kids shooting recreationally. This was a case of an 8-year-old Massachusetts boy. He died at a gun fair after accidentally shooting himself in the head with an Uzi submachine gun. He was being supervised by licensed adults. Now, I want to ask Larry, experts tell me that Uzis have these tremendous recoils. I just spoke to somebody today who said even an adult can be destabilized by the recoil of an Uzi. Shouldn't it be illegal, at least for kids, to handle Uzis? Give me that one.
Well, my grandchildren have been to the range many a time, and I must say we haven't had them using an actual machine gun. But a child, I think, should be trained how to use guns, and that's really what I think is the argument that you're trying to make should not happen. Had there been an impediment on the gun that child used in Indiana to save his mother's life, he wouldn't have been able to save his mother's life. So all these reasonable, seemingly feel-good gun laws that tie up a gun and keep people from using it don't keep the bad guys from using it. They just keep the good guys.
I disagree. I think it's accidental death is one of the leading causes of death by guns.
It's absolutely declining, and it's not at all one of the leading causes of death. Automobiles, fires, falls,
Tell that
bicycles,
to the kid who was blown away by an Uzi submachine gun that he was playing with.
It's really outrageous that we can't even have the gun lobby agreeing that children shouldn't be firing Uzis. We need common sense solutions to our gun problems. Why are there no background checks when you buy guns at gun shows? Why are military-style weapons for sale?
Wendy, briefly jump in, then we have to break.
Massachusetts, the so-called safest state in the nation with the best gun laws, that's where that 8-year-old shot himself to death, so it isn't always about the laws. Look, sometimes, for example, in battered women's cases, you give her a restraining order, doesn't stop the bullet. You give her a gun, you get a little bit of domestic
We've got to have some laws. I don't think we can just say laws don't work, therefore let's not have them. I think something has to be done about kids handling weapons.